What's up, everyone? I hope you're all having a fantastic Valentine's Day. To get us started on today's updates, the SEC is also going after stablecoins now. That means that the entire digital assets ecosystem is under attack. The stakes are now enormous, even more so than before. This begs the question, who will stand and fight back? In other news, the SEC plans to sue stablecoins issues Paxos, which is behind the Pax dollar, that's USDP, and Binance BUSD tokens. According to a tweet by Crypto Alerts 365, Senator Pat Toomey challenges Gary Gensler on the fact that stablecoins don't meet the Howey test. DAI commented on the same, saying that Gensler knows full well that stablecoins don't meet the expectation of the profits part of the Howey test. At this point, it's clear that he doesn't care about what the law is. The judge in the Ripple versus SEC lawsuit has already said that the SEC doesn't have a faithful allegiance to the law.
And my time is limited, so I'm going to try to do this as efficiently as I can, Mr. Chairman. But I think I know your position, among other things, is that not all cryptocurrencies are inherently securities, right? That's true.
There's a small number that aren't, but I think that, as Chair Clayton said when he was in front of Congress, I think very many of these facts and circumstances are investment contracts.
So here's my concern. So some are and some aren't, is basically what you're saying. And I'm concerned that the SEC has not provided sufficient definition and explained how it would apply the Howey test, which I think is the court standard for determining when something is an investment contract. So, for instance, stablecoins do not have an inherent expectation of profit. They're just linked to the dollar. Now, you might use them in an attempt to make a profit, but that's a second order activity. Is it your view that stablecoins themselves can be securities?
I think it's best, Senator, they may well be securities. As Thurgood Marshall wrote in the Reeves opinion, in defining the scope of the market that Congress, wished to regulate, Congress painted a broad brush, and it actually included about 35 different things inside the definition of a security in the 33 Act.
I've just got limited time here, so I acknowledge that. Here's my problem, though. I think what you just said was that they may be securities, or that some are securities. To me, a stablecoin doesn't meet the second prong of the Howey test, that there has to be an expectation of profits from the investment. And so if it doesn't meet the Howey test, it looks to me like it's not a security. Now, maybe you've got a good argument for why some are and some aren't. My whole point is, I think we need to have clarity on this. I think you should publicly disclose this. Apparently, there are private conversations where you work with people who are proposing particular structures and you give them advice, or your staff gives them advice. I just think we ought to have that publicly, and we certainly shouldn't be taking enforcement action against somebody without having first provided that clarity.
Well, Senator, this Congress could change the laws, but the laws that we have right now have a very broad definition of security, including a note, including an investment contract, and the like. And my predecessor, Chair Clayton, and others actually put out a lot of guidance with regard to the Howey.
I just got to push back a little bit on that. It is broad, but it's well defined. There is a very specific litany of the instruments that constitute securities, as you know this better than I do. Investment contract is one of them, and there is a court decision that lays out the prongs for what constitutes an investment contract. I'm just saying, as a layman who can read English, when I read those tests, stablecoins don't seem to meet that test to me. Maybe I'm wrong, but if I can misinterpret this, I think others could too, and some clarity, public clarity, I think would be helpful.
I see the red light, but I agree with you that some of these tokens have been deemed to be commodities. Many of them are securities, and the Supreme Court has weighed in a number of times. You noted the Howey test. We've talked about the Reeves test was in the 1990s as well, has weighed in, and I think that there's a fair amount of clarity. Over the years, the SEC has even found, believe it or not, whiskey caskets and the and the courts agreed in the 1960s were investments. And I think at the heart of our securities laws was protecting investors against fraud. They get to decide, they get to take the risk. You'll find I'm not negative or a minimalist about crypto. I just think it would be best if it's inside the investor protection regime that Congress laid out.
I see my time has expired, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
And with that said, let's roll that beautiful intro. As always, welcome back to Money Side, your favorite crypto news channel. If you're new here, welcome to the XRP Army. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on our daily crypto news updates. Following up on the same, we have some commentary. It comes to us from Eleanor Tourette. She tweeted that she spoke with an industry expert on the BUSD news who said, I think Gary Gensler and the SEC Gov have truly lost the plot and gone mad with power. I have bought and sold millions of dollars worth of stablecoins, and never once did I think I'd profit from them. In more interesting news today, Stuart Alderati shared that over 40 million Americans own crypto. Most of those are between the ages of 18 and 34 and are demographically and racially diverse. That's a lot of votes. Gary Gensler is a political liability. More updates now from 801 XRP. He takes us back to some of the beliefs that 2018 MIT Gensler had. The clip reminds us that Gary Gensler believes XRP is a non-compliant security, but that's just his belief. Even he says that this will not be resolved by the SEC. It will be solved by some courts. It will be solved by some courts at some point in time. There might be some regulatory forbearance and be determined if not to be. This makes us think that this was all planned out this way all along, probably even long before Gary Gensler was chairman of the SEC. XRP is not a security.
We don't really know. Hugo.
Question about Ripple.
Yes.
And if you have any opinion on whether XRP is a security that was sold by Ripple or currently continuing to be sold by Ripple as they own like 55 billion of the coins. Because also like their product on like they want XRP to be used on XRapid isn't really live. Xcurrent is the thing that they're using most right now, and that's just an alternative for Swift, so they'll need to move their coin.
So Hugo is asked about the token XRP and whether I think it's a non-compliant security. I've spoken publicly. Yes, I do think it's a non-compliant security. But this will not be resolved just by the Securities and Exchange Commission. It will be resolved by some courts, whether it's appellate courts or the Supreme Court. So what I believe is just that. It's a belief. But why would I say that? I think back to the Howey test. I think they are exchanging XRP. Ripple, the company, is exchanging XRP for something of value. And they're using it right now. They sell it every month. It's in a lockup. There's in an escrow. And they sell XRP every month. Ripple, the company, initially did the Genesis block back in 2013, but kept 80% of the tokens. Now they have about 60% of the token. But they sell it on a continuous bit, 100 million to 200 million or so a month of value. Two, I think it is relying on a common enterprise. I think Ripple, the company, XRP investors are very much relying on Ripple, the company. And that if Ripple, the company, went away, as you noted, there's not much use of XRP. In fact, for the first 3 or 4 years, or 5 years even, there was no use. And then they prototyped something called XRapid. Xcurrent, the main product of Ripple, the company, is a messaging and apparently a clever one that's competing with Swift. But Xrapid, the prototype, doesn't have a large community right now. So it's highly centralized around Ripple, the company, the development, the node network. The ownership is 55 or 60% owned by them. They're promoting it as such. But it will be settled in some court at some point in time, and there might be regulatory forbearance, and maybe they'll be determined not to be, but I've expressed my thoughts. I don't own any of this stuff. I don't have any particular conflict. I'm just
So let's just say that XRP is declared a security and Ripple loses the case against the SEC. What then is the worst case scenario?
Because the second scenario is the tidal wave scenario, and it hinges on what is currently going on in the litigation with expert discovery. The bigger concern, in my opinion, is a judgment against Ripple based on the decentralization, or lack thereof, of the XRP ledger. And the SEC hasn't really focused the court on this argument and doesn't seem to want to make it the focus of the litigation, probably because it's a losing argument for the SEC, and it doesn't really mesh with its theory of the case, but it is much more dangerous to you. The argument here is that the XRP ledger is centralized and maybe so reliant on Ripple that XRP is per se, or kind of in and of its nature, a security, meaning that it's not just how Ripple sold it, but just because it is that it's a security. Now, you might not even think this is even arguable, but my very own Twitter friend, Stefan Huber, sorry if I mispronounced your name, found this article out of Germany just recently, which argues that exact same thing. Quote, one of the leading German business journals writes that the XRPL is centralized because all payments are controlled and checked by a group of 35 people. Oh my dear God. Smiley face, smiley face. The oh my dear God part was actually Stefan's own comments. The German article actually said, Ich bin ein Idiot, but not too much of an idiot, because this is exactly what Attorney Deaton is concerned about in his motion to intervene when he points out, quote, additionally, the SEC asserts the property held by XRP holders is a security because the very nature of XRP itself makes it the common thread among Ripple, its management, and all other XRP holders, close quote. In any case, there has never been a crypto case in which this has happened that I'm aware of, and I believe I've reviewed every SEC crypto case out there. So this would be uncharted waters, but the effect of any order, which even alludes to XRP being inherently a security or carrying with it some kind of securities designation, would be absolutely devastating. An opinion like that would have an almost instantaneous chilling effect on the markets, freezing liquidity, and leaving XRP holders with bags. Not bags of cash, but bags like luggage that sit in your closet, unusable and unused as a pandemic locks down travel. Now, in legal jargon, it would suck. And to make matters worse, if liquidity in the USA dries up, Ripple's main business model dries up here, and it's off to Japan for Ripple, or at least it feels the yokoso.
While most people were pretty sympathetic with the SEC's position 5 years ago, the questions posed by crypto are hard. Learning about a new space takes time, but have gotten less sympathetic since there's been no progress on regulations over that time. Tungvi Lee tweeted on the same, saying that she agrees, saying, I was at the SEC and started working in crypto in 2017. Everyone was trying to wrap their heads around it then, including going after outright scams. It is now 2023. We should have come up with a working regulatory framework by now. As always, do your own research and always trade safely, guys. Please keep in mind, we're not a licensed financial advisor. All videos on this channel are intended for entertainment purposes only. Let us know what you think in the comments section below, and let's have a conversation. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, and please click on that subscribe button below and turn on notifications so you get informed whenever we post our amazing content. Thanks again, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next Money Side.